I'm Sophie.
Hi, I'm Paul. And we are
SP Film Viewers.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year! We're here in 2024 now, making more SP stuff.
More content. more of the same.
Pretty much.
No new gimmicks or anything like that, but just looking forward to covering some more great movies.
Yeah. Starting off the year with, hopefully, a good one.
Yeah, one that we put to the Patreons and thought, well, what's a really solid pitting against two choices, and two came to mind for musicals. One called Sound of Music and one called My Fair Lady, and Sound of Music won.
Funnily enough, I've not seen either one, obviously.
No, neither
for neither of you.
Yeah.
However, Sound of Music, I think I've been aware of. I know that it's like a family thing of mine that's quite appreciated.
Yeah, I only know its existence in terms of, like, you know, I guess the songs and just, you know, its cultural
like the sound of the music and them running on the hill kind of thing.
Yeah,
that's the cliche.
That's one I definitely know. But other than that, I don't really know how the story goes or what that's about. So
no, I'm quite excited to see what it entails and what my family have grown up with, how I will appreciate it. I'm hoping I will. I'm assuming going in with high expectations just because I know my mum's loves it. And my grandma used to love the film, so I'm hoping here's a third generation will enjoy it.
Yeah, hoping to get some enjoyment from it as well. I think
it's a musical, so it can go one or two ways.
Yeah. Which it's obviously, like, from appreciating things like La La Land and Singing in the Rain. If back in the day, I wouldn't have given this like a second thought because this sounds really boring.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, going with a better mindset now with things. And
well, even Singing in the Rain, you could class somewhat as a musical.
Oh, it is, yeah.
So even that in its senses. So I think we do like musicals, we just don't like it when it's overdone in like a Disney film where, like, Frozen 2 every 2 minutes is singing for the sake of just singing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it doesn't feel like it's relevant to maybe what they're feeling at that moment, perhaps, but I don't know, it just kind of seems kind of shoehorned in a little bit.
Yeah.
Just to be honest.
She's got a good voice, so we'll make her sing.
Yeah. But anyway, we'll find out what this offers, and we'll be back with our thoughts on The Sound of Music.
Good evening, children.
Good evening, Fräulein Maria.
Enchanting little ritual. Something you learned at the Abbey?
No, it's rheumatism.
Raindrops on roses and whiskers on kittens. How far can I carry on singing this song?
that's no.
Bright copper kettle. These are a few of my
favourite things.
Yeah, can I say it?
So back from watching Pretty Fantastic.
Pretty Fantastic. Film. Really?
Yeah, I mean, from the get-go, the aerial panning shots of the cinematography.
I was a bit of a cowbag with that, to be fair. I'm not going to lie. I kind of was like, oh, the camera's a bit, and I have to appreciate the age of it, but it was joltering a bit on the air views. And I was like, oh, but I think it's, I'll be honest, we've had a hard week at work for me personally. So my eyes do, they can be quite sensitive. I sound like a little old lady, oh, my eyes. But I think that were more like a bit of a shock, whereas now you have this like perfect steady like tripod and it, you know, it zooms across and nothing jolts or ups and downs. But to be fair, it didn't ruin the actual picturesqueness of it. It didn't.
No.
But it reminded me of The Shining a little bit. which initially the opening of
Yeah, I wasn't even thinking of that, but you were like, yeah, it's like you just need that music. The dun, dun,
Yeah.
dun.
which I didn't think I'd associate with, to
No.
be fair. But
No, a different time if you'd seen it before. Well, maybe after the fact of seeing The Shining, you would have thought the same thing. But I guess that's because you've seen it quite a few times now.
too many times.
Well, that does open with the "Hills Are Alive" song.
Yeah. Which are all of the soundtrack of this, to be fair. Somehow, I know all of them. So maybe I've been brought up with it and just not realised and don't remember watching it because I know all the songs pretty much. But, oh gosh, they get stuck in your head.
Yeah, there's a reason why it's so in the zeitgeist so much, and that they're just strongly written. I
Yeah,
guess,
no, 100%.
to put it in the simplest terms.
I think that's what it is because, for example, like Mary Poppins, a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. It's teaching you, it's educating you within the song. It's kind of, the lyrics are really catchy, but they mean something, and you can just sing along to them. And I think that is what this has, which surprised me about the fact that we Googled, and that Mary Poppins obviously was before The Sound of Music.
Yes, and Julie Andrews is the lead in this. So, yeah, she, after the end of Mary Poppins, she went away and then she went to
Becoming
Austria.
another nanny. Yeah. No, I absolutely adore this film. I really do. I don't think I can say a bad thing apart from the camera opening bit, but that's like literally by the by. You forget about that by the time that you've watched the whole film.
Mm-hmm.
It just makes you feel all cozy and grateful inside. I feel like gives you a bit of a moral, and it's singing, dancing, happy ending. It's just everything, isn't it? And I'm surprised I'm saying this where we're sat here going, this is a 3-hour long film.
Yeah.
And I'm applauding it, and I'm saying how amazing it is. But it's 3 hours of not being that intense.
Yeah, it's very wholesome how it handles everything, really.
Well,
And yeah, you don't feel like the time drags, even though we did have to split in half, mainly just because you just say you had a hard week, and it's like, oh yeah, getting a bit tired.
yeah, I've been having early calls, haven't I? So
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
getting a bit late for.
But
little
I felt
old
like
Sophie.
it wasn't like, come on, like that's.
I don't think I think I could have literally sat the whole way through and not been bothered. I know there is an intermission in it.
Yeah, there is, which I didn't actually expect, because the only other one I've seen that in is where it says intermission card halfway through or whatever is when we did Seven Samurai, and that bar that was like seemed a legit thing.
That felt like 3 hours though. That did.
There wasn't even going on 4 hours, so
that were hard work for me. Whereas this wasn't, and I think that when we paused it where we did, I was surprised we'd already done like an hour and a half of it.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. Yeah, it did. And I think because it flew by so quickly, that's why you get so attached to it and love it more, because it's like, well, it's one of those things where you can put it on. I understand why people watch it around Christmas now, because A, the length of it, B, you've got the capacity to watch it, and it's just a nice, good feeling movie. Like, I actually did say to Mum, I don't know if this is an insult or not, you know, like if you felt poorly or you were under the weather. And
being a comfort film.
Yeah.
No, that's not an insult, because some people, there's many films that people would deem that as that, like, just a comforting. Like, I would say, like on an autumnal day, like The Fantastic Mr. Fox is kind of like, that would be like a comfort film of that nature, because it's...
Yeah, you just want to bunker down and get cozy with them and hibernate yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. And I think that this film, for me, means a lot more than I realised. I think it's definitely already becoming in my...
for you, obviously, from your mum and her mum, having that kind of... It been instilled and brought up with the film, it probably helps you get that level of appreciation for it. Whereas this, for me, it's like I've had the Blu-ray sitting on my shelf for God knows how many years, and I think I got it fairly. It wasn't that expensive as well, considering it was many years ago when obviously like Blu-rays were not like super expensive, but it was. I'm sure it was like less than a tenner. I'm thinking Right, okay, well, it's something I wanted to, but never got round to watching. I think I'll get to it at some point.
I think because it's the length of it, you need to kind of give it the time.
But I didn't actually know how long the film was, to be fair.
Really?
So I just got it and like...
Did you put it off because of the musical aspect, do you think? Because you're not really used to be a big fan.
Yeah, probably did, so... But I'm thinking at some point I'll get round to...
I can't believe we're so late to the bandwagon on this one. I feel like we're late to the party, and I'm gutted that I haven't seen it sooner, to be honest. If I'm completely frank, it's just like, where have I been all my life? Why am I so ignorant to not seeing this film? And I'll be honest, I'd watch it this year again. Like, that's how much I love it. Like, even though it's 3 hours long, I would watch it again happily. It's definitely gone already into my like top 10.
That was quick. I was considering I just did a top 10 at the end of the wrap
Serendipity can get kicked out, Paul. There you go. You complained about that one. So, sorry, spoilers of probably going forward of what we're going to be, what I'm going to be scoring it.
In terms of obviously there are songs which we'll obviously get through.
I'll sing them all for you. Don't worry.
There's got to be a story, and apparently this is sort of like semi-based on true events with the Von Trapp family, which I think is more comes to fruition by towards the end of the film, the latter part, or maybe the third act, I suppose, in a way. What did you make of, like, obviously the children particularly, with how they were?
Well, initially it reminded me of Mary Poppins, just because the rich, spoiled kind of kids initially, and the playing pranks on the nanny, or the governess.
Governess.
She's a nanny. And you kind of get that vibe of, oh, here we go, they're just going to be playing tricks on her the entire way. But somehow she wins them over quite quickly, and sees that the children, and they just want to be loved and cared for, because the way that the dad's treating them since the mother died is literally like they're members on the ship, basically. Like when he introduces them and they're marching down the stairs.
Yeah.
Which I just think is awful, because it's like, well, you're a child. You shouldn't be treated like that.
No, but because he's lost his late wife has passed on, and he's like that's all he's got to offer for for his years in the service or whatever.
I think it's because he's not meaning it in a bad way. I think back then the woman was the one who looked after the children.
Yeah,
and they did connect with them on a better level, and I think the father was the authority figure, and they would be looked up to and not really have to handle the kids as much. And I think because obviously he's not been there, because he's been a captain on a ship, his wife's done a lot of the work, and he's come back and not really known how to deal with them.
Yeah.
He does come across pretty much like a prick initially. Like he's like an absolute twat.
But I think that's for the purpose of the story, that's got to be the way that you say, like, oh, he's a stickler for the rules and stuff, and he's got to be like this journey in this 3 hours is going to be him like turn around with things, and this new governess is coming in, and I
feel like that's like Mr. Banks though in is it Mary Poppins?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah, similar kind of thing. Yeah,
I think it is.
And so a more joyous person comes into their life and wins them around.
Yeah, and I love the first bit where I know we're going to be flitting back and forth, but
typical SP style.
Yeah, just the opening where we see Maria at the top and singing, and then she's late because she's a nun at this moment in time. Yeah. And I love the song that the nuns sing, like about Maria,
what to do about her.
Yeah. No one knows what to do about Maria. And then she's like a will-o'-wisp, a clown, and all of this kind of
stuff. But even that, like, it's done in a way that's not over the top. It's just the nuns just like moving around the courtyard or whatever.
It's like they're having a conversation in song, basically. Yeah. That's what it is.
No flashy jumping around with something like Encanto or something where it's like ADHD kind of thing. You've got to keep the kids entertained with it.
But I think lyrically it's so clever. Yeah. And the rhyming, like a Babala Brook, and it's just, I don't know, all kind of links to nature, and I think that's what's wonderful about the film, and that's why Maria is such a joyous character, like you were saying. Like, she literally loves the simplistic things in life.
Yeah, that's why she felt so appreciative of the surroundings that she had to sing about it. But it's like, a bit like, no, you can't sing anywhere other than the Abbey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she grew up near the hills, and she appreciates the scenery, any flower and anything like that. And we kind of said when she went to the house beforehand, you could tell she was quite nervous. So she sung the confidence song.
Yeah.
And flicked her legs up while
Yeah.
she's doing it. And we were like, well, actually, if you look at all she's got, I know she's a nun. She's got a guitar and the Mary Poppins bag, which I commented on. But she doesn't have a lot. And I think it makes you think actually in life, well, do you really need, not meaning this in a bad way, because I know you with all your Blu-rays and everything and your 4Ks, but do you need all of that? Because when you die, you can't take it with you, can you? So
No, but it's to appreciate while you've
while
got
you're
it
here.
here. Yeah, that's it. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, I kind of envious a little bit of people who are like that. They don't need a great deal of stuff and they just get
You're looking at me. I know you are.
the simplest little things make you happy. But I don't know. It's different strokes for different folks, isn't it? But
I think so. And I think it's also how you've been raised.
Mhm.
I think it you know,
Yeah.
probably like Maria, she said she didn't, makes it sound like she had a bad upbringing.
Yeah, one
So-
of the latest songs she sort of says about that.
Yeah,
But-
so it kind of, the less you have, the less you want. I always think that's a true
Mhm.
thing.
Yeah, because you never know what you're
You've got
missing out on,
yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
That song, the I Have Confidence song, and a fair few of the other songs throughout this, and go, oh, right, I know that's from now. You're going to laugh, probably, if I find it amusing. A lot of them I know through watching Family Guy.
Really?
Yeah, because they're sort of like, paying homage to it. So there's like cutaways and stuff that kind of like incorporate those songs, and that's like one of them. And
What,
like that's so long,
Confidence?
farewell,
Evita, say goodbye.
and
I know that one as well, but not from Family Guy, thankfully. I remember we used to be in assembly at school, and when the assembly would finish,
right.
why are you laughing?
Well, you weren't going to bed, were you?
No, but we'd just do the so long farewell,
Oh, right.
Evita, say goodbye bit.
Right.
I bid, it wouldn't be the going to bed, night
Right.
kind of
The
thing.
sun is.
No. But I remember seeing that, and me somehow knowing that from a very, very young age. And I don't know if even my granny used to say it to me. And I used to say it a lot when I was little. And I think that's why I can say it so well. But I think, not that obviously the children are growing up in Austria, where my granny's German. So it's not too far from one another,
Mhm.
really. The children are absolutely stunning, by the way. Like, I really like them. Greta, is it Greta?
Gretel.
Gretel. Oh my goodness. She is so, so cute. Like, the cutest. Like, there's one point where she has a boo-boo on her finger. And
Yeah.
she's like,
I can imagine you being like that. Well, still could, to be fair.
if we had a little me, I'd want it to be like
Yeah.
that too. Like, oh, what happened? And I think that's what Maria is. She's just a wonderful soul in the aspect of being caring and nurturing. And that's what you want in a mother
Yeah.
figure.
I didn't know if we'd have a sort of, with the length of the film, if it was going to be like a sort of like time dedicated to each one, like say each child had some sort of problem they had to overcome,
Mhm.
and that she would take the time to, sit down and talk out with them and make them realise, oh, the thing's not so bad, or all that stuff. But I only say that because of, particularly with Liesel,
Yeah.
the eldest, and she's got like a love interest with this guy called Rolf.
Such dog name.
Yeah. And obviously, like we're gonna sit down and have a chat about that, and then I thought, okay, well, that's where that's going to lead. But
I think it works well, and I think the first scene of them, like, she's been in the house, obviously, she's got the pine cone which she sits on, and she says it's rheumatism, and doesn't grass the kids up, and I think that's when they're like, oh, we're feeling bad, because actually, if that was a normal nanny, they would have thrown us under the bus and gone, oh, your children have done this, and this to me. Whereas she didn't, because she was on their side, but wanted to show them that.
Mhm.
I think with Liesel, when she first came into the bedroom and she was wet
So
through,
yeah.
and she was like, oh, this is where we normally put the spiders, in the governance room or whatever. And then she was like, well, where have you been? And building up that relationship by providing trust and going, okay, I know you've done something wrong. Instead of telling you off, I'll help you get out of it and be there to support you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that kind of shows a strong connection. And I think once you've got the eldest, you've got them all, haven't you, really?
Yeah. Well, they all kind of
I love that
tumble
scene.
into bed when the thunderstorms going off. So, yeah, they're all like terrified. And so it's like, oh, being comforted by her.
It kind of reminds me of my granny, to be fair, because it's quite funny. In my family, I've got my granny who used to be absolutely petrified of thunder and lightning, so she hated it. I think that's probably because of the war.
Yeah.
My mum, who absolutely adores it to the point of where she will sit and watch a thunderstorm happening. And then you've got me yet again, who is petrified and hates it. And I just stand there and go, don't like it, like an absolute idiot. And it don't make it any better.
No.
And I think it reminds me of when I was little, when the thunder and lightning would go off, and I'd go to my mum, and she'd be fine with it. She's like, it's okay. She wouldn't sing the song, though. But I think it just reminded me of being little and being scared and going to your mum and feeling protected. And that's what she kind of was. And she literally, all of them ended up in the bed, and it was just quite cozy. And then the song came, Favourite Things, which was, I believe, written for this.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
Which is weird, because I've grown up with These Are the Few of My Favourite Things and known the song quite well, but never known it was from a movie.
Yeah. Well, like I say, yeah, I think I'm sort of similar as you there with not knowing, oh yes, it came from this film. Obviously, a lot of artists have done like iterations of it in their own way. Like one of, obviously more recent-ish is the Ariana Grande song, Seven Rings.
Oh, yeah.
It's
not the one, I Want It, I've Got It.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Gee, thanks. Well, that's just not the right
Gee,
morals.
Thanks, No, I know. But that's obviously a different spin on
Yeah.
things, isn't it?
True.
Well, the other kids, they kind of just, I feel like they are just kind of there. There's certain ones that just don't really do much, like they don't stand out so much.
Like the boys, I feel like they're a little bit in the background, to be honest.
Yeah.
There's another two girls. And then, is there 7 in total?
Brigitte and Marta.
So wait.
And Louisa. So there's 7 children. There's 5 girls and 2 boys.
2 boys. I can only remember mainly 2 girls, obviously. There's Lisa and Gretel. Liesel.
Yeah.
And then there's a blonde-haired girl who's a bit older.
Louisa,
I
Yeah.
think. I'm blanking on the other girl.
I've written it down. Brigitte, I said Brigitte and Marta.
Just have a look. So you've got 2 quite younger girls. Obviously Gretel and then Marta.
He was a 7-year-old.
Yeah. And then to be fair, then you've got kind of the 4 in the middle that kind of don't really impact me. I'd say. And then obviously the eldest that has the main part. But that's not saying that they don't do brilliantly, all together. It just means that there's some more outstanding storylines, I feel.
Yeah, in what way?
Well, I think they just have more airtime so that you kind of build that character and kind of appreciate them, and they've got more lines.
Yeah, that's why I thought they would, like say, have the time dedicated to each one or so, but guess not.
But collectively, they are always there, and they're always a part of the family, and always part with Maria, and she kind of brings them out of their shell. And once the dad has to go to work, goes to see the Baroness.
Yeah.
I think that's when Maria kind of goes, right, okay, I'm not going to blow a whistle. You're not a dog. I'm going to make you some clothes so that you're not on a ship, and you can run and play and sing and ride bikes and
do the fun stuff that kids are supposed to do.
Yeah.
And also teach the children how to sing.
Which comes a lot in this, doesn't it, to be fair? They are really good at singing, though.
Well, they have to be, won't they? They can't just be really half-assed. If it's, a musical, they can't really.
But you do get another part where Liesel gets another kind of 17 going on 18, which, weirdly, I knew that song as well. I don't know if it's just then played on the radio after the fact, or how I know it. I don't know how I know it.
I only know this is the you are going on fellas will fall in line. But other than that, I wouldn't know what that was from or anything like that.
No,
like going back to the Family Guy stuff, it's like they're just there. But like I don't know what that is. Is it must be from something, but I didn't know at the time.
Mm.
Now I know. But I think it's probably because of the fact of the creator of Family Guy, Seth MacFarlane, is a big fan of The Sound of Music.
Oh,
So,
I don't blame him. I really don't.
So paying tribute to it in whatever ways you can, I suppose.
But that scene where they're singing they're 17 going on 18, they're in a, like, what's it called? A garden? Summer garden house.
I think like a summer house or something.
I want one in our garden, Paul. But the scene where they're dancing and they're doing the legs up and down and then they're jumping up on the benches, and I don't know,
Well, I know you probably appreciate that because like Singing in the Rain, sort of like the dance choreography, a little bit within that.
absolutely loved it. And then the rain as well, because it was absolutely peeing it down.
Mm-hmm.
And you could see the rain on the glass, and I don't know, it just made it feel quite magical, and the cinematography of it all was just beautiful.
Well, I say, like, I know I said about the opening landscape shots at the beginning, but throughout the film, the framing of, like, a sucker for, like, that sort of, like, perfect framing shot, you know, like it's symmetrical on either side.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of that's top marks for doing that, and it looks absolutely stunning. Like, you know, the architecture of buildings, one thing, or, you know, just how a room is displayed or whatever situation in the kind of framing that way.
I think one for me that shone out quite a bit was it was like a tunnel archway that they were outside in, and the light was coming through and it was creating shadows of the trees on the floor, and then Maria and the kids were running through the tunnel, and that just itself, with the way the lighting was and the greenery and then the shadows and the reflections, it was just like, oh, it's absolutely beautiful. And the daft thing about it was only on the screen for like a couple of seconds and it was gone. That was it. But it was like the thought that's gone into that shot is not worth the length it was on screen, if that makes sense.
No, I get what you're saying.
It's like when you used to do your animations.
Yeah.
The amount of work it would go into that, like, 5-second animation, and then you blink and you're like, is that it?
Yeah, yeah.
And it's kind of like
the same
that.
Work is with that, yeah.
But still, I think because of our background of what we kind of have, like, I've got a key eye, and so have you, that you can kind of sit and just appreciate the thought and the process going behind it. Even to the point of where the bells are clanging, the way that they've got that shot, and it's been like looking through the abbey where the bells are. Just clever little things that they've thought of, and back then would have been hard to have got.
I'm not saying necessarily would have been hard to do for those kind of shots, but I appreciation of how they would have, you know, like composed that and gone that, yes, this will work and this will look really beautiful because we are in a beautiful place, really, with the architecture and everything, scenery.
Stunning.
Yeah. One of the things I did like, I don't know about you, but the one that's the song that stuck in my head is when they're doing the puppet show, and the yodelay, can't do it. Yodelay, yeah, that, and they're really like solid looking puppets. Like, again, I think it's because being like a European style, and they're normally like very crafty with like woodwork and stuff like that, and you can tell that there's a lot of effort put into those puppets with around everything. And
I think it was just the performance of it all, and the way that the puppets were being displayed, and then you could see them singing up at the top, and it was just everything. It was just perfect. But obviously this is when we're encountering the Baroness as well, which she's your typical woman who just wants to get richer for richer. She don't really love the dad or anything like that. And you can already see that Maria and the dad are kind of hitting it off. I'll be honest, I did predict that would happen.
Oh, yeah. If for the people who would have seen it back in the day, I don't know if they'd still go, yeah, I can see where this is going, or just because we know from like other films, it's normally that, oh yeah, you're the cold, not heartless, but you know, like you're very chill,
I think it's materialistic frosty, as well. Yeah. I think that's what it is. Where Maria isn't. Like, and she does care and she's loving and giving.
Sideward glances kind of thing, and you're like, oh, you can see there's something there, and you have to be blind to see that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, the only thing I didn't know whether it's going to be like a Baron von Trapp, the dad, when he says he's going to marry Baroness. And I wonder if I thought it was going to be like, then, gets to the wedding day and then Marie's like, no, please don't. Like, and that kind of
kind of
cliche.
glad it didn't go that way, to be fair.
Yeah.
I think I'd have been a bit like...
It ends a bit more amicably, actually, doesn't it? Like, he says to the Baroness, like, no, actually, no, this isn't working out. And then she's kind of plays it off like, oh, well, actually, I prefer...
I think she's so up herself that she can't have him dump her, and she has to pretend in her head, oh, well, I finished it, I didn't want it. Yeah, and I think that's the sad part about it, where it's like I have to pretend I'm better.
But then after that, there was no, like, as if she was, like, saying, oh, right, okay, fair enough, and then walk away and then come back.
Oh, no.
Like, oh, let's sabotage their wedding or something.
No, she went gracefully, I think, really, to be fair.
That was that. So, fair enough. But then, when it got to the part when, obviously, with the wedding of Maria and Baron, I started thinking, oh, that's the end of the film.
Yeah.
But then it goes a little bit further with the Nazis coming.
I did see that kind of come in, to be fair, because there was a lot of showing that it was just post-war. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah.
Post-war.
Well, no, this was the...
Before.
Yeah, the film was made in the 1960s, 1965.
But it makes you feel like this is present to the war is coming, there's something dooming.
So in the 30s, so, yeah, obviously, Nazi occupying countries, yeah.
And I think you've got two side stories. You've obviously got Maria with the kids and falling in love with the captain, and then you've got Liesel, where she's got her like little love story with the
Rolf.
Well, Rolf, who's like delivers the
telegrams,
and then he gets swiped up into the war. He's on
gets
the Nazi side. He thinks whatever he's doing is really far too important for this romance, and she sees that
blindsided by them. So it's like no time for that. We're all about,
which is quite sad, really, because she's loves him. You clearly can see like it's her first love, and he basically breaks her heart by the time that like he grasses on them, doesn't he? At the end, like pretty much. And I think the ending for me, I was a bit taken back by, because everything else I'd kind of predicted. It's like, oh, they're just going to live happily ever after, and the kind of World War II essence of Hitler and all of that
creeping in,
was a little bit like, oh, this makes it a little bit more darker and a bit more interesting, actually, than just finishing with them living happily ever after.
Yeah.
Which doesn't sound like something I would say. But it also touches home on how the war was. And there was another song where the dad sings it twice with the puppet show.
Oh, after the puppet show.
So there's after the puppet show, he sings Edelweiss, which is a flower.
Yeah.
And then he sings it again at the concert.
So
there's two ways that he sings it. And the first time, my mum always cries at this because it always reminds her of my granny. So she always cries.
Do you think it's something that she sang to her or something? Every
time it was on, she would always sing.
Oh, okay.
Sing it.
Yeah.
She would. And that it just reminds her of her mum.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
And now, obviously, every time, like, I've only associated, I know this sounds really sad, with this song coming on, normally, like, on Musical Week in Strictly. And they have done it where it's been Edelweiss and people have danced, and my mum still cried every time, like, the song comes on.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, okay, let's see how this hits me. So the first time after the puppet show, I'm not too bad. Because it's like, oh, please, Dad, sing for us. And it's quite a nice surrounding. The end one, that did get me, because...
Because they're getting everybody involved in the crowd and everything. It's like almost like harmony. Really.
And I think the moral behind the song is talking about a flower, and he says, let's try and keep that flower present and blooming and growing. And obviously, he knows the World War II's coming, and it's like ruining the land, it's ruining everything, and all this little flower wants to do is grow and bloom.
Yeah.
Basically, that's what the song's about. And I think when you put it into that context a little bit more, it kind of hits home a lot.
Right.
And I think maybe that's what another thing, because obviously my gran, being German, bless her, grew up in the World War II, but not great being a German at that point either.
she wasn't involved in any of that.
I think she was just I think she helped. So like was a nurse.
Right.
So like anyone that was, well, probably the Nazis, was injured, she'd probably been looking after them. But she met my granddad, who was English at this point as well, and fell in love with him and moved to England. But being a German person at that time, moving to the UK wasn't very easy, because a lot of people would just associate any German being a Nazi.
Yeah.
So I don't think she had the easiest of times. So yeah. But that song now, I think, does kind of... It's been stuck in my head as a little earworm, but at the same time has more of a connection, I guess.
No, I get that. The one song that kind of did get me a little bit, which, forgive me, I do forget what it was, but it was when... Oh no, I think it was when the kids were singing The Hills Are Alive.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, just when he was saying to me, like, oh, please pack up your things and go. And then he hears the kids singing. And then he comes around into the room, and then he starts singing, and then they are like, almost like gobsmacked. Like, he's like, oh, got our dad back, kind of thing. And that kind of moment, it was quite touching. Yeah. Really. I really felt something there. So it was quite nice.
And I think even when they come to the point where Maria leaves, because she knew that she's kind of, in her head, she's doing ungodly work, because she thought she was there to get the children and mother within the Baroness, but actually she's meant to be the children's mother, but she sees it as she's meddling where she shouldn't be.
Yeah, it's against God's wishes or something.
So she takes herself back off to the abbey and goes to be a nun, and you can see just the impact of her presence not being there. And it kind of reminds me of A Wonderful Life in a sense, because it's like, well, without that person, the children aren't as happy, the house doesn't feel the same.
There's no song, there's no joy there anymore. You're just telling the solemnness of how they are.
And even when they tried to sing and were forced to sing, they didn't really want to.
Yeah.
There was a funny part where obviously the Baroness is trying to play with the children. And first of all, why would you ever involve a ball? Because she doesn't even know, like, she looks like the type of person who wouldn't even know what to do with the ball.
Exactly, like, just assuming, kids like playing with them.
Yeah. But then she doesn't, and then they keep chucking at it.
Yeah, like winding her or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, purposely, because it's like, I don't want to be associated with you. And
I don't want to play this game just because you think, I'll try and have fun with them.
Yeah.
And it didn't last long, because they actually said, can we stop playing now? And that's when they kind of go to the church and beg to see Maria. And it shows that actually, no, she should be there. She should be the mum. She is the one that loves them. There was one bit that made me laugh. Who's the second youngest?
Isn't that Marta?
Oh, maybe not. I've put somebody says, I can't remember which one it was, that everyone's seeming a bit tense, and I think it's leading up to the concert where the mum and dad are on honeymoon at this point.
Yeah.
And the child goes, well, maybe it's to do with that flag with all the black spiders on it. And I just think it's making people nervous. And I just thought, oh, that's such quite a cute way to...
of looking at, innocent way of looking at black spiders,
Yeah.
And then when the dad does come back from honeymoon, he's like, I think it's a powerful message, obviously, like, he tears up the flag that's hanging out outside his door, like, he's not standing for this.
Yeah.
He's against what this is all about, and, like, won't be bullied by the Nazis coming in. It's kind of obviously like a bold thing to do at that point, go against them is, normally.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, but. So thankfully there's none of that, like, nobody gets shot or anything in this, but.
The Abbey, yet again, comes in handy, helping Maria and her family within this incident. So they try and sneak out, and the Nazis know, so then they do the concert.
And then they escape.
And then they escape when they win first prize, which was kind of, you were aware that at some point they were going to be running away.
And that was another song they repeated with the Afi saying goodbye, and then did like obviously the lighting disguises the fact that they are just legging it.
And the Abbey then bring them in, they look after them, they kind of hide them, and then let the Nazis come in, and there's always like kind of a little bit of a cat and mouse chase. But you can see that actually the Abbey have always wanted the best for Maria, even if it's not. Well, they've got to.
It's part of the thing. They can't. Obviously, it's in the nature of the nuns, the sisters, they can't really turn away the people who are in need. And
when they go, sister, I think I've sinned, because they've basically made sure the cars can't work to go after them.
Yeah.
And they live happily ever after. The kind of the Hills Are Alive at the Sound of Music is the kind of where you started off at the end with just Maria.
Yeah.
You now end up with the whole family.
Trekking, traversing the mountains, but where they're going to go is another matter. But
it
I'm sure
doesn't matter because they're together and they're all happy and healthy.
Which ultimately, by the end and throughout the film, it's kind of obviously focusing on the moral being like obviously having your family and that bond and connection. It's important.
And just being happy with each other and being there for one another and understanding. I think that's what Maria brings.
Turns their lives around for the better, which is I think that you always need a strong female mother's touch.
I feel like it kind of reminds me of me and you a little bit, because not saying you like the captain, but I think she had hardly anything when she grew up by the sounds of things, and went to the church or the abbey to help her.
Mm-hmm.
And then she found like Prince Charming in the end, but she helped him before he helped her. Because look at the house and the luxuries she got, but really in the end she didn't get them, but she gained all 7 children and a husband.
Mm-hmm. Which I was just thinking like how we got pretty busy, having to have 7 kids.
Yeah.
Poor mother, having to pop them all out, but yeah.
Well, the age gaps between them as well.
Yeah.
Because they don't look that old.
No, there's only a couple of years.
Started young.
Yeah.
Being pregnant every year or something.
Oh, not again.
No. Like, shouldn't be allowed to do that thing to produce them. Unless the starter brought them.
Yeah, sure.
That's how children arrive.
Well, I think that encompasses everything really, unless you got anything else to say.
I don't think so. I'm just intrigued that you go first for the score.
So as I say, it was very much enjoyable. I don't know why I wasn't going in thinking, oh, this is going to be absolutely rubbish or anything like that, because as I say, like the sensibilities of it and sort of like the impact it has with, let's say pop culture for better or worse.
It's got a brilliant soundtrack.
Yeah, which I now sort of know. I'm more familiar with the songs.
Thanks
as well.
to Family Guy.
Thanks.
Well, at least you learned something from watching Family Guy.
Yeah,
it's like you with The Simpsons as well, like where you get all your
yeah,
lines and stuff from.
Yeah. And with that, and obviously all the beautiful cinematography and all that. Now, the only...
You're eking this out, you're making
I know,
me anxious.
the only drawback I would say is whether it was because we did split it in half, and it's kind of like, not saying like to blame you or anything like that, but like, like if we'd have seen it all the way through, would it have still been a different first watch? Because I felt like everything from the first part was really solid, really into it, and then as I think didn't lose interest as such through the latter part, but I think didn't seem.
I think it's after they got married.
Impactful. It's kind of like there's something there that wasn't quite not off, but I can't put my finger on for this first time out with it. But I'm gonna go with 9.5.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm cool with that. I'm cool.
Yeah,
cool.
And I think maybe also because I know they're the kids, but I wouldn't say they were particularly super strong. They were obviously they could sing to a degree, but they weren't like super like tip top or like,
what, the vocals or the acting?
Both, I guess. But
I thought those vocals were brilliant.
That's me.
I don't think it mattered about splitting it up, but I think probably for you, it was more like, oh well, would I be able to sit here and watch it for 3 hours consecutively? I think the first half is definitely stronger than the second. I will agree with you.
Mm-hmm. Well, I didn't say I wouldn't watch it again because I would. That's why it's so high. But yeah, and well, I think we know what yours is if it's already.
it is a 10. Yeah, it is. It's comfort in a film. Yes, it does have a bit of a gloomier ending with the war and the Nazis, but actually, to be fair, I think it makes it more
could have been a lot
poignant,
darker.
And I think Edelweiss seems more touching and understanding of that aspect of the world, and it being like, well, because all this to me is to do with nature and it's surrounding a babbling brook, a river, a rainbow. It's everything to do with nature. Basically, is this film, and it's what the world and the planet provides us. And I think then obviously then it's wanting to educate you a little bit with the war and how it impacts you, but at the same time have a happy ending from it. And I think it gives you every feeling and emotion within the film. It makes you happy, makes you sad, it makes you feel really joyous, it makes you laugh. It's just an overall
pleasant watch. Yeah.
And I think it'd be something that if I was feeling really under the weather and I'd put that on, and I think that's something that would make you feel better and cheer you up. And I think that's why it kind of does remind me of a similarity to Singing in the Rain. It's got that good feel about it.
Yeah.
It does have an undertone of darkness, a little bit just at the back end, and I think that's where you're saying because we split it up.
Yeah,
I think that shift into that, would it have been as fluid? And I think that's what you're possibly meaning.
for experience, but that could totally shift in the next time around.
I would watch it in a heartbeat. I would watch it at some point again this year. Like that's how much I adore it, and I want to get an Edelweiss
flower. I want to get. Well, but it's not. I don't know why it isn't. I don't think it is because I looked it up, but a 4K of it because I think that would really definitely benefit from.
I was wondering that, but
no, sadly, for some reason it's not. I don't know why.
I'm surprised. To be fair, shouldn't it be like a Criterion version, Paul?
There's which I've got the My Fair Lady. That's 4K.
That's just rude.
But it's apparently it's in 8K like print, which I don't even know how that was possible back from the thing. So in our own time, I guess, when we'll see what that looks like.
I'll have to let the patrons know which one we preferred.
Mm-hmm.
No, but I'm really thank you to the patrons for picking it. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. It's been a really good start. And I remember when we watched Singing in the Rain, it was the beginning of I think it was the first one of the year.
Yeah.
And
that's why I was kind of thinking it was probably going to be the case.
Yeah. And this is kind of like on par and absolutely adore it. I think it's a bit more nostalgic than I thought as well.
Without you realising subconsciously.
Yeah.
Good start to the year.
Yeah. Already. Brilliant.
Well, thank you very much for listening to this episode. And if you want to check out some of our other episodes, you can do so by going to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, and wherever else you get your podcasts from. And also be sure to leave a 5-star review over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Podchaser, and wherever else they do the scoring system.
We are on social media. We are on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Threads. I think that's everything. And we're under the handle SP_filmviewers. So hit that follow, like, subscribe, yada 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 button.
Yeah, that yada 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 button.
Yeah.
Where's that? And we also want to thank the patrons, of course, for picking the film and being just awesome in general.
Yeah, 100%.
Supporting the show. And before I read out the names, just like to say, if you want to join the family, you can do so by going to patreon.com/SPFilmviewers, where you get to vote for a movie we watch once a month and get your name shouted out as we're about to do right now.
So let's just shout out to my mum first of all. She had a clear winner with this one when she voted, so massive thank you to Mum for still supporting us, bless her.
We've also got our friends Alex and Shani.
Newlyweds.
From December, yeah. Who are desperately seeking username for Alex and SDOG for Shani, both on Instagram.
And we've got the wonderful Jonesy on Instagram too, at Weight Loss Jonesy. And then we've got the wonderful Emma, who is on Instagram as well, under the handle M_Hayton. They've both aired on our podcasts as well.
Last year, yep.
So go check them out and give them some love and follows.
We've got Gren, who is under the handle CGren_draw on Instagram. Ben from Film Vloggers. Mark from 100 Things We Learned from Film. Last but not least, we have Nico from The Good, The Bad and The Weird podcast. So thank you very much, everybody.
That's it in a nutshell, isn't it, really? So if you do want to become a patron, please do consider it. You know, it is a great kind of thing for us. It gives us love and support. And they get to pick. Paul, I think you did actually post it at the beginning of the did a post on it as well for people at the beginning of the year if they wanted to be the first one to
Yeah.
pick.
Yes.
Obviously, you've missed that. But
Yeah. For the upcoming months, yeah, of course.
yeah.
Right, so thank you once again for listening to this first episode of 2024.
I really enjoyed it, so thank you.
I'm glad. Me too. And we will speak to you next time.
So long, farewell, and Vida say goodbye.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't help you there, did I?
No, because I can't remember the bit. But anyway,
farewell.
yeah. Goodbye. 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 Right. Bye.